Welcome to a weekend edition of Totally Unscripted. My name is Mike McDowd. Pleasure, joy, thrilled to be with you. And with me is always the typically extremely serious Stephen Travers, the author extraordinaire of more than 30 books and just a professional baseball player. Went to Redwood High School here in Marin County, California, USA. Number one team in America, Steve tells me. Never heard that story before. Anyways, totally unscripted, anything goes right off the bat as we like to hit the subjects of life. We'll talk about anything. Well, the thing that just came to my breaking news, and Steve, I'm just going to run this one by you. I know you're going to have an answer, but more wonderful news for Christians around the world. Mass militants in military-style uniforms opened fire on a bus carrying Coptic Christians, killing 28 in Egypt. And again, the terror on Christians continues to manifest its ugly head by these scumbags who think that killing Christians is in vogue.
Well, the Bible warns us, tells us in prophesy that Christians will be persecuted, and these are the original Christians. They're walking the earth of the Holy Land, where the first Christians were. The first Christians were Jewish converts who lived in Jerusalem, and slowly but surely, as Peter and Saul of Tarsus, later known as what did Saul of Tarsus? Saint Paul. They eventually told the Gentiles about it and moved about and moved into Greece and eventually the Roman Empire. So these are the original Christians, and they're being persecuted by the peaceful Muslims, the religion of peace.
All right, so that's going to it's going to go to our next topic, and it's just something that comes to mind when we talk about this. Really, when it comes down to them, I think there's a certain tolerance, especially in America and Europe, thinking that Muslims and Christians can somehow coexist. What is my point? My point is, if you look at the origins of Muhammad and you know about his background, his goal was world caliphate, worldwide. So unless you what's the word, Steve? I'm looking for
assimilate
and convert to their faith, we're dead. And Muslims, even peaceful, loving Muslims. Oh no, that's not what we want.
They won't necessarily tell this to your face in diplomatic circles, but they don't see you as a fully human. And a good example of that is prostitution in Dubai, and they bring European women. They love blonde women from the United States or Europe. They bring them there to serve on the harems of wealthy Muslim potentates. And the reason, and they don't use Muslim women for these positions because they consider Muslim women to be pure.
Yes, pure.
The European women, I guess you ostensibly call them Christian women or women of some Christian origin, I suppose. They don't look at them as saved. They don't look at them as sisters. They look at them as chattel to be used by these people for their purposes. They need to release their sexual tensions in order to be freed to do their great work and to pass on their. So it's an example of what I'm saying. Right. But I will say this. Muslims in the United States assimilate better than any other country in the world. They come here and they assimilate better. We have fewer problems with Muslims in America because of the Constitution and because, despite the fact that what the media wants you to believe, we're the most tolerant people. And I'll tell you something. The more tolerant you are, the more the people you're being tolerant to will hate you.
Well,
the less racist you are, the more people will think you're racist. The more you hate yourself, the more other people will hate you. You just ask the Jews, the self-hating Jews of history, who've hated themselves over guilt. Well, they allowed themselves to become very hated people throughout history. You have to have a love for yourself. Otherwise, nobody else is going to love you.
Well, I think, when you talk about Muslims in America, we don't know. I mean, it's a relatively new um, faith to Americans. I mean, it's slowly growing and evolving because more are coming into this
Yeah.
country.
Europe is much closer to the Middle East than the United States, where
True,
so it's
true.
harder to get here, and our laws are stricter than European laws, where you can just willy nilly cross over. I mean, Gibraltar is only a bridge from Spain, which is why Spain literally was a Muslim country at one time. All you have to do is read Shakespeare's Othello.
Yes.
It wasn't until the Battle of Tours when the great either Frederick Martel or whatever, the great French priest and general of France at the Battle of Tours around 1305 finally defeated the last Muslim hordes and sent them back to the Middle East, more or less ending the Crusades.
Listen,
the Crusades were not European armies going to Jerusalem. It was Muslim armies coming to Europe, trying to convert Europe into Islam, and then eventually, as we defeated them, we chased them back there.
That is why the Crusades were created, to combat these Muslim armies. Okay, that's why.
Exactly.
And so that's the essence of it.
They took
the
over
Crusades
Spain.
were not bad.
They took over Portugal. They took over much of lower France.
Well, the thing is, for example, the Catholic Church gets absolutely just hammered because, the Crusades. Well, certainly there were people in the Crusades that were perhaps not great
There
people.
are Muslims, say, in Serbia. The Muslims in Serbia, their relatives were turned into Muslims by warring armies that came there and put knives to their necks and told them either we'll cut your head off or you convert. That's how they became Muslims.
I mean, do you really think that Muslims, even Muslim Americans, ultimately that we can coexist in this country peacefully?
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, they're more likely to coexist in America than in Europe because the Europeans are self-flagellating, self-hating people. There's too many people like you and me who love America and love ourselves and love God in America to allow America to become what Europe is. But we might be isolated because by the time we're old people and our children, are taking over, Europe is going to be gone. Europe just sees itself as an immoral place, and they hate themselves because of their past.
All right, now listen. I think you're right on the money. Quick off the wall subject. Your thoughts on the wine sipping Hillary Clinton giving a quick talk to the lovely children of Wesley College, or whatever the hell it's called. Wesley. What is it? Yeah.
Wellesley.
Yeah, see, I don't even care. But it's just so great to see her out in public telling their American children how great our nation is. Isn't it, Steve? Yeah, I agree. All right, next topic. Montana Republican Greg Gianforte. He gets into a little brawl with one of the boys from the Guardian in England, and all of a sudden, Steve gets himself in a heap of trouble. But yet, the good people of the Big Sky country, Montana, still vote him in to be their representative.
Well, apparently what happened is they took a look at the liberal media, gave it some analysis, and determined that they're so foul and rotten that they deserve to be physically punished. So when the Republican physically punished them, they liked him more for having done so. The guy should have defended himself like any other good Montanan.
Well, that's why, and I believe he did.
Just ask Teddy Roosevelt about his experiences in Montana in the 1890s.
Having worked...
that's where men are men and women are glad for it.
Having worked in media, I will say that certainly you want to be respectful.
Yeah. Okay. Did you put your camera up against the guy's face like that?
I never did that.
2 seconds after your previous colleague had done the same thing? No.
I mean, there's a way to be respectful.
And if you did, you deserve to have him punch you back.
I'm not saying, and I want your thoughts, I'm not saying that should take place. But what I am saying, people are so fed up with the media these days.
Well, that's the point.
and so therefore you could
The media is not
you can
sympathetic.
understand perhaps why one would take such an action.
Media are filled with a lot of foul, unrighteous, and untruthful people, and
Why has the media become so complicit in this country? If you look what CNN is trying to do to Donald Trump,
because
they're literally trying to destroy
because
this
the
man.
forces of evil have determined that that's the next step. They've tried a lot of frontal assaults, such as slavery, communism, and Nazism, and now they see the media as the way to promote unrighteousness. And so a lot of unrighteous people go into the media. But there are people like you and I are in the media. We consider ourselves righteous people, so maybe we're minorities, but we're still going to fight back.
Well, completely changing the gamut here. I'm thinking of California dreaming right now. What is California dreaming? In the state of California, when we talk about beer, we talk about having a good time on a weekend. Who has the best looking women in all of California? Which areas, and why?
I would start with Hermosa Beach, California. I would next go to Newport Beach, California.
Okay.
I think on a nice summer day, there are certain areas in the Sacramento Delta that are quite outstanding. I think Santa Monica and the LA West Side, San Diego, particularly near its beaches, the Walnut Creek section of the Bay Area, probably the Inland Empire Palm Springs area, which is a growing area also. Wherever you go, where you find great high school sports teams, that's where you'll find the best looking girls.
Okay.
It stands to reason that the high schools that produce really good football and baseball teams probably have the best looking cheerleaders and girls, and probably the best looking moms.
Yes. Well,
In my study of the issue, that's been my determination.
what would you tell? How would you get? What kind of advice would you give a young man who's watching our show, totally unscripted with the Travis and McDude? What type of advice would you give a young man who wants to meet a good lady, and what type of approach would you offer the young man in this?
Well, I made so many mistakes in that area that I don't know if I'm.
But I'm asking you to give the advice.
I would definitely try to stay faith-based.
Yes.
Which,
That's a great topic. We got to hit that one. I mean, listen, if you don't treat a woman with the utmost respect and dignity, it's not. Gentlemen, it's not about having sex with women.
This is for the ladies. When you're evaluating your potential mates, look at how they treat their moms or their sisters. And then you'll get a picture of how they will treat you. If they're nice to their mothers, nice to their sisters, they can argue with them. They can have their differences with them, but they have to respect them and be kind to them.
And remember, my dear sisters, the ladies out there, the young ladies, 20s, 30s, teens, if a man says...
What about the ladies of Gold Club?
Ladies of Gold Club, I want to speak to you also.
Mm.
Just remember this. If a man says, oh, baby, I love you, if you have sex with me, I'll know you love me. Let me tell you right now, he does not love you. He does not love you.
Yeah.
Okay? They just want one thing. Hey, it's truth. And the Travis and I are speaking the truth.
Well, I had this conversation with my daughter when her first boyfriend, and I said, girls who are loose and get around are not well respected. Girls who play closer to the vest. And I have a mystery to them, and the boyfriend agreed. And I think that was something that my daughter picked up from me.
All right, listen, we're going to have more fun topics, and anything goes here on Totally Unscripted. So listen, you all have a great weekend. For the Travs, I'm with McDude. Be safe, be careful, enjoy your adult beverages.
Fight on.
And chill.